Hello grade 11 students. Our topic for today is graphing rational functions. The domain of a function is the set of all values that the variable x can take. The range of the function is the set of all values that f of x will take. The zeros of a function are the values of x which make the function zero. Intercepts are x or y-intercepts crosses the x-axis or y-axis. The y-intercept is the y-coordinate of the point where the graph crosses the y-axis. The x-intercept is the x-coordinate of the point where the graph crosses the x-axis. An asymptote is a straight line associated with a curve such that, as a point moves along an infinite branch of the curve, the distance from the point to the line approaches zero and the slope of the curve at the point approaches the slope of the line. Vertical asymptotes, they are the restrictions on the x values of a reduced rational function. To find the restrictions, equate the numerator to 0 and solve for x. Horizontal asymptotes, let n be the degree of numerator and m be the degree of denominator. So if the numerator is greater than the denominator, y is equal to 0. So first example is f of x is equal to 7 over x. So first the domain, to find the domain is the denominator. So extract it with 0. So x is equal to 0. Since x cannot be equal to 0, so set of all x or set of all real numbers except 0. So that will be your domain. And then next is the x-intercept. So 0 equals 7 over x and 0 is equal to 7. So to find the x-intercept, so cross multiplication, since 0 is not equal to 7, so wala na tayong x-intercept. So next is the y-intercept. Y is equal to 7 over 0, and then there is no y-intercept. Next is the vertical asymptote from the domain. So the domain is 0 or set of all real numbers except 0. So yung vertical asymptote natin is also 0. And how about the horizontal asymptote? So the horizontal asymptote is the degree of the denominator and the degree of the numerator. So denominator is 0 and then the numerator also is 0. So y or vertical or horizontal asymptote is 0. So next is the table of values. You can assign any values for the x and then you have to substitute the value of x in the given function, which is the 7 over x, and you have your table of values there. And also you can use that table of values in plotting a graph. So in plotting a graph, you can now use, I will give you later the app in checking your graph. Okay, to check your graph, you have to download the app Gizmo. So search it in your Google app or Google Play Store, and then search Gizmos. If you already downloaded it, and then you open it now. And then you search the given function. So example number 1 is 7 over x. So functions, click d over dx, and then you edit it. So you put 7 here as your numerator, and then your denominator, which is x. And then you have now your graph. You can zoom in or zoom out to check your answer. And then save it. Since I already saved it in my phone, so just click save here. And then you can name it rational functions or example number 1. And then save. The second example is 5x over 2x minus 8. To find the domain, tingnan nyo lang yung denominator, which is 2x minus 8 equals to 0. And then, ilipat yung negative 8, so magiging positive 8 na siya. And then, divide both sides by 2. So, x is equal to 4. And then, our graph may be restricted into positive 4. So, set of all real numbers except positive 4. And then, next is 0. So, we will equate the numerator to 0. So, 5x is equal to 0. And then, x is equals 0. Next is the X Intercept. So in finding the X Intercept, so you have to substitute the value or the given function, which is 0. So 0 or f of x. So yung f of x natin is magiging 0 na siya. So 0 equals 5x over 2x minus 8, and then cross multiply. So 0 equals to 5x. So x is equals to 0. And the next is the Y-Intercept. So in finding Y-Intercept, you have to substitute 0 in the x. So 5 times 0 over 2 times 0 minus 8. So your Y-Intercept is y equals 0 over negative 8, so your y is 0. And the next is the vertical asymptote. So see, we will base the vertical asymptote in our domain, which is the 4. So your vertical asymptote is x is equal to 4. And the next is horizontal asymptote. So to find the horizontal asymptote, you have to find the degree of the numerator and the denominator. So since 5x over 2x minus 8, so our horizontal asymptote is 5 over 2. So we have now our vertical asymptote, which is 4, and the horizontal asymptote, which is 5 over 2, and then the x-intercept, the y-intercept, and the zeros. So first, ilalagay natin sa graph is the vertical asymptote and then the horizontal asymptote. So that line, red line, is the vertical and the horizontal asymptote. And the next step is to plot the x-intercept and the y-intercept. So since it's 0, so it remains there, 0. So next is the vertical asymptote and the zeros. So yun yung gagamitin ninyo to find the interval. So next is to make the table or interval table. So to review this, so you have to recall your lesson about rational inequalities. See, first is 0 is lesser than x, and then lesser than 4, and then x is greater than 0. X is lesser than 0 and x is greater than 4. And then first is the test point. So you have to choose a number which is lesser than 0. So -1. And then next is 0 hanggang 4. X is +1. And then next is greater than 4 is +5. So you have to substitute the given test point on the given function. So -1 of 5x times -1. So ilalagay lang natin yung sign na lang yung ilalagay. So next is negative times negative is positive. Next is x is equal to 1. So substitute 5x. So it becomes positive. And then next is 2x minus 8. So it becomes, so since yung x1 or x is equal to 1 is positive, so since lahat na lang sila is positive, so x is equals to 5 is also positive. And then next is x is equal to 1, so substitute 2x minus 8 is negative. So positive times negative is negative. And then next is positive, positive is positive. And then the signs sa ibaba, yun yung direction natin in our graph. So next is x is less than 0. And then to check your answer, so you can type the given function in the Desmos app.